My sister-in-law is going to give a speech in French. She hasn't been brought up in the same kind of educated environment as us, so please be patient with her." Upon hearing this, the room buzzed with anticipation. All eyes turned to the groom, who was visibly flustered. I switched on the mic, hoping to put him at ease. "Congratulations on your marriage. Now, without further ado, let me proceed with my speech." The room fell silent as I began, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught a fleeting glimpse of Emily's faint smile. Then I began my speech in fluent French. Every now and then I glanced over at the couple. Emily's frozen smile seemed somewhat out of place. "Why, how—" While working in the fields, I spotted fresh rabbit tracks in the cornfield next door for the first time this year. I paused my work to take in my surroundings and locked eyes with a rabbit and its baby. The mommy rabbit was feeding on grass with its tiny baby, a sight that was truly heartwarming. Oh, how cute. It's that time of year already, isn't it? My name is Sarah, and I'm currently 30 years old. Right now, I'm planting corn in a carefully prepared field. This farming work is monotonous and often makes me lose track of time. Before I knew it, it was already evening, so I decided to stretch a little on the spot and call it a day. As I was brushing the dirt off my clothes with my hand, it caught the eye of a familiar farmer who was also getting ready to head home. We exchanged friendly nods. The neighborhood farmers have always been kind, and they taught me patiently even when I was a 16-year-old who knew nothing about farming. I chose not to go to high school and have been living off a mix of farming and part-time jobs. This way of life started when my parents were killed in an accident when I was still in middle school, leaving behind me and my younger brother Jason. Jason and I were taken in by our maternal grandparents, who treated us with more kindness than anyone else, despite our childhood inability to fully understand what was going on. Thanks to them, we were able to quickly recover our smiles without falling into despair. However, our grandmother was frail and often sick. She acted strong in front of Jason and I, but our grandfather, who was supporting her while working, was brave but visibly worn out. Given that we had just moved in, our lives were certainly stretched to the limit. At that time, our grandmother was taking care of our house chores and us to the best of her ability, but her health was uncertain, and we didn't know if she would need to be hospitalized long term. I saw how she tried to act cheerful around us, but I would hear her cough at night and our grandfather leaving for work before we woke up. Seeing Jason's innocent face sleeping peacefully next to me, I made up my mind not to pursue high school, but instead to work. At first, I started delivering newspapers, but because I wanted Jason to go to high school, I took on another part-time job in farming. It was tough at first, but Jason was able to attend high school and focus on his studies. Later, he was accepted to Harvard University. The day I attended his college orientation as his guardian, I was filled with tears of relief seeing his growth. And Jason was able to secure a job at an international company. He often said, "I can't thank you enough, sis," but all I wished for was our family to be healthy and happy. And now, several years have passed since then. Our grandfather retired and decided to prioritize supporting our grandmother at home. Perhaps our grandmother's health stabilized, being comforted by the constant presence of our grandfather, and now she lives a peaceful life. Today after work, I was supposed to visit my grandparents' house. Jason, who often travels for work and moves around, rarely gets a chance to see our grandparents, so I make sure to visit them regularly. After cleaning off the dirt, I got in my car and headed to my grandparents' house. As I drove, it got progressively darker, and by the time I arrived, it was completely dark. I parked the car and opened the slightly old door. "I'm home." "Welcome back, Sarah. Hey, Sarah's here." Then I could hear quiet footsteps from the back. "Sarah, you look well. You haven't had dinner yet, right? It's ready. Why don't you join us?" "It's been a while, you two." "Sure, I'm hungry." When I said that, both of them welcomed me with a smile. I've been away from this house for many years now, but the comfort of my childhood home is something special. As I sat eating dinner with my grandparents, catching up and making small talk, the phone rang. "Who could it be at this hour? Should I get it?" "No, it's fine, Sarah. Just sit down and eat your dinner," said my grandmother as she answered the phone. "Hello? Oh, it's been a while, hasn't it? I'm fine. How about you?" "Oh, really? Congratulations. That's great. Oh, wait. Let me get Grandpa on the phone now." I knew immediately from my grandmother's tone that it was Jason on the other end of the line. The phone was passed to my grandfather, who also seemed to enjoy the conversation. Sarah, you should also talk to him. It's okay, I can talk to Jason anytime. Oh, is that so? But... Oh, I'm doing well. I'll let you talk to her now. Here, Sarah, it's Jason. With a happy look on his face, my grandfather held out the phone to me, leaving me with no choice but to take it. I'm okay, but... Hello? Sis, long time no see, how are you? Surprised by Jason's voice, louder and more energetic than I'd expected, I gasped a bit. Long time no see, Jason, I'm good. You startled me with your loud voice, but I'm glad you sound well. What? Am I loud? No way. Grandpa and Grandma just have poor hearing. As Jason said that, I couldn't help but smile and let out a chuckle. That's so like you, Jason. So, you occasionally call like this, huh? Nah, it's been a while since I last called. I had something to tell you. Something to tell? Yeah, I've already told Grandpa and Grandma, but I'm headed overseas for work. What? That's amazing. So they chose you, Jason? Well, it's not that big of a deal, but you know, it's all thanks to you, sis. Thank you. What do you mean? It's all because you've worked hard, Jason. So was this call to tell me you won't be able to return home for a while? There's one more thing, actually. I'm getting married at the same time, too. What? Really? Congratulations, I'm so happy for you. I really wanted to introduce her to you sooner, but I've been too busy with work these past few years. That's why I had to tell you on the phone like this. That's alright. Being busy is a good thing. Thanks, sis. So my assignment is in Paris. I'll be living there for the foreseeable future. We're thinking of holding the wedding there, so come over with Grandpa and Grandma. I'll cover the travel expenses, of course. Paris? When I looked at my grandparents, they were beaming, perhaps happy for Jason. But I started to worry that taking the elderly couple on such a trip might be too much for them. Jason, I'd love to go, but taking these two... I know. It would be bad if something happened. I wanted them there for the special moment. Oh, then I'll come over before the wedding. When's your next day off, sis? Me? I have tomorrow off, but after that... Got it. Then I'll bring her over tomorrow. Let Grandpa and Grandma know. What? Wait, that's pretty short notice. Wait, did you have some plans, sis? Not really, but mental preparation? You don't need that. She's a really nice girl. I'm sure you'll like her. Oh, I gotta get back to work, so can you tell him? Bye. Wait, hold on. The call ended abruptly, and I reluctantly hung up. I see. Are Jason getting married? That's wonderful. That's right. He used to be so small. I'm so happy for him. Oh, Sarah, is the call over? What did Jason say? About that. He's bringing his fiancée over tomorrow. Tomorrow? I explained to my surprised grandparents that I was worried about taking the elderly couple to an overseas wedding, and I guessed Jason wanted to meet them before his overseas assignment. I see. At our age, it's hard on the heart to fly. Indeed, but if we can see Jason again after so long, let's make a feast tomorrow. Jason has always been smart, but he's always been restless, always thinking on the run, so to speak. Well, it's good that he's found someone who can support him. Let's celebrate tomorrow. Then I'll come over early tomorrow and help with the cooking. With that, I started eating the remaining dinner that had been left untouched. The next day, despite being a habitual late riser, especially on days off, I woke up early and headed to my grandparents' house. Despite it only being midday, my grandparents were already busy preparing for the visitors. Seeing their eagerness, I felt my nervousness melting away. As evening arrived, the sound of the sliding door opening echoed through the house. I'm home! Jason's vibrant voice was followed by a softer, reserved one. Hello there. As I went to greet them, I found my brother, whom I hadn't seen for a while, and a lovely lady standing there. Ah, sis, long time no see. Let me introduce you to the woman I'm going to marry. I'm Emily, nice to meet you. Oh, I'm Sarah, Jason's sister. It's so nice to meet you. Emily and I shook hands, welcoming the couple into the house. Emily greeted our grandparents as well. She laughed often, was very outgoing, and quickly became friendly with our grandparents. As we sat around the dinner table, Emily suddenly asked me a question. So, sister-in-law, you're a fan of lemon on your shrimp? Huh? Oh yes, I always have been. Really? Me too. This is the first time I've met someone else who likes it the same way. I'm so happy. Emily's cheerful conversation made her easy to talk to, and we chatted and laughed together. However, I couldn't help but notice Emily's gaze on me when I was talking with others or had to leave my seat for the restroom. I brushed it off, thinking it was perhaps poor eyesight, or maybe it's just the way she looked at people. Today wasn't the day to worry about it, as we were here to celebrate Jason's upcoming marriage. The conversation shifted to Jason's future overseas assignment. From there, I learned that Emily had lived in Paris during her junior high school years. That should make adjusting to life there and any culture shocks easier, right? I asked. Yes, indeed. The city might look a bit different now, but I think I can manage living in Paris. Plus, I'm really happy to have the wedding in my second hometown. All of this, including my overseas assignment and meeting Emily, I owe to you, sis. It's all because you encouraged me to go to school back then. I can't thank you enough. His gratitude made me humble, but Jason kept thanking me throughout the day. Stop, come on. Like I always tell you, it's all because you worked hard, Jason. But sis, I wouldn't be who I am today if you hadn't done everything for me. Oh, I remember now. I'd like to ask you to give a speech at the wedding. Me? Well, it is your important day. If you want me to, I'll do it. Really? That's great. Looking forward to it. Don't set the bar too high. Even at that moment, I felt Emily's gaze on me. However, the dinner went smoothly, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Time flew by, and before I knew it, it was the day of Jason's wedding. From the day I was asked, I had been rehearsing a carefully crafted speech for Jason's big day. As I headed to the venue, I mentally read through the speech, preparing to deliver my brother's once-in-a-lifetime speech. When we arrived at the ceremony venue, I decided to check on Jason first, heading towards the groom's waiting room. As I opened the door to the room, I was surprised to see Jason still in his everyday clothes. Oh, big sis, thanks for coming. Was it hot outside? Yeah, I was taken aback by the heat, but I'm fine. More importantly, you haven't dressed up yet. I was looking forward to seeing you in a tuxedo. You're too eager. We still have plenty of time. As we chat for a bit, I heard the door open. Turning around, I saw Emily, the bride, standing there. I tried to greet her, but she cut me off, a knowing look in her eyes. You made it here all by yourself, sister-in-law. I heard you didn't go to high school, so I was worried about you. Her loud, inappropriate comment leaves me taken aback in the quiet waiting room. Huh? Jason steps in front of me, confronting Emily. Hey, what the heck? Stop it. Emily, facing the furious Jason, whimpers. I was just expressing my concern. Why are you blaming me? I watched this unfold, and promptly stepped between Jason and Emily. Don't get mad, Jason. I'm fine. Today is an important day, right? If you say so, sis. Jason relents, and the situation settles down. Emily, on the verge of tears over the smallest thing, strikes me as someone who always needs to be the center of attention. Throughout Jason's dating history, some of his girlfriends have been jealous of the bond between us siblings. With that experience, I kept my composure, watching Jason comfort Emily until she stopped crying. And so, planning to leave early and find my seat to rehearse my speech, I started to step away. But then Emily, who had been crying just moments before, flashed a smile at me. Oh, and please do your speech in French so everyone can understand it, okay? She giggled. I was left dumbfounded. No, sis, you don't have to do that. Emily, don't say such things. Jason chimed in. At that, Emily's face crumpled as if she were about to cry again. It's okay, Jason, I understand. I'll practice. I reassured her. Emily cracked a small, cunning smile, but I quickly left the scene. The wedding began, and seeing Jason getting showered with blessings, looking so content, made me genuinely happy. The wedding continued, and before I knew it, it was my turn to speak. Standing nervously before the mic, I was about to start my speech when a voice echoed from a different mic. My sister-in-law is going to give a speech in French. She hasn't been brought up in the same kind of educated environment as us, so please be patient with her. Upon hearing this, the room buzzed with anticipation. All eyes turned to the groom, who was visibly flustered. I switched on the mic, hoping to put him at ease. Congratulations on your marriage. Now, without further ado, let me proceed with my speech. The room fell silent as I began, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught a fleeting glimpse of Emily's faint smile. Then I began my speech in fluent French. Every now and then I glanced over at the couple. Emily's frozen smile seemed somewhat out of place. Why, how? I actually once worked part-time in agriculture, and we hosted a French man 5 years older than me, who was interning there. He was kind, always thoughtful, and I secretly had a crush on him. Looking back, it was my good youthful days. Wanting to deepen my friendship with him, despite the language barrier, I borrowed my friend's school French textbook and studied diligently. At first, our conversations were awkward, but at some point I became capable of casual conversation in French. As my jokes during the speech set the room roaring with laughter, I noticed Emily seemed completely lost. I figured she'd probably forgotten her French after so long abroad. On top of that, her 3 years of middle school abroad had taught her that unless you're keen on learning, you can get by with just gestures and vibes. Just as it's hard for a child to understand what adults talk about, it seemed unlikely Emily understood everything that was happening. As my speech drew to a close, I saw Jason, deeply moved, crying out loud. Beside him, Emily, clueless as to why Jason was crying. As I finished speaking, the room erupted into applause. Emily, who still had no clue what was happening, started clapping along. When I asked, "Was that okay?" in French, she fell silent, her face flushed with frustration. Seeing this, the crowd, guests included, clapped even more. As I was returning to my seat, I heard Emily's shrill voice. "Excuse me, isn't it time for me to change into my next outfit? Why do I know the schedule better than you all? Can't you do your job? Hurry up!" Perhaps she was irritated with me. Emily's tirade against the staff and her behavior towards everyone else remained terrible until the end, but somehow the wedding concluded without a hitch. Back home in Louisiana, I showed my grandparents the wedding photos and videos. They were thrilled, and even now, months later, they sometimes look back at them, shedding tears of joy. Meanwhile, Jason, who'd moved abroad, started calling more often than before, and the bond between us siblings grew stronger. According to him, many of the guests at the wedding had seen Emily's malicious behavior and arrogant attitude towards me and had grown to despise her. Emily's reputation that she'd built up over the years took a nosedive, and her friends began to drift away. Then Emily started blaming Jason for everything, crying, throwing tantrums, and worst of all, she started to verbally abuse Jason on a regular basis. Having lost all hope for Emily, Jason was now working on a divorce. A few months later, as usual, I went to see my grandparents, had dinner with them, and the three of us were chatting about recent happenings. Suddenly, the sound of the front door opening resonated, followed by a, "I'm home." I quickly ran to the door. "What, Jason? Why are you not in Paris?" "Oh, sis, you're here too. Perfect timing. And seriously, even if this place is in the middle of nowhere, you should keep the doors locked." "Oh, Jason, welcome back. Paris? Are you done over there?" "No, I'm still living in Paris, but I had a business trip to New Orleans, so I decided to swing by." "Oh, that smells good. I'm hungry." "Well then, come over here and eat, Jason. Guess what? Jason's back!" Seeing Jason for the first time in a while, my grandparents were happy. Their voices naturally rising, and they surrounded the hungry Jason with flying conversations. Amidst all this, I was worried about this think of the run type of Jason. "Jason, it's totally fine that you suddenly came back, but are you okay with your own family matters?" Startled by my somewhat loud voice, Jason flinched, but immediately turned towards me, straightening his posture a bit. "Sis, about that. Actually, the divorce has been finalized, so I wanted to tell you that in person. I'm really sorry for causing you distress. You've always been there for me, and I didn't mean for this to hurt you. I'm sorry." "Well, if that's the case, you don't have to be so formal about it. It's all in the past now." "No, but I hurt you too, sis. I'm really sorry." After that, Jason insisted that he was fully responsible for making me feel bad. Then, with a voice on the brink of tears, Jason said that even my decision not to pursue higher education was initially his fault, and he kept apologizing over and over again. Seeing this, I gently put my hand on Jason's shoulder, speaking to him softly. "Jason, that incident wasn't your fault. Don't worry about it anymore. I'm not bothered by it anymore either," I assured him. I saw a look in his eyes that suggested he still had something to say, so I quickly added, "Going out into society earlier than others has taught me a lot. I've met wonderful people and I've experienced many happy moments. And now, being able to be here with my family, I consider myself very fortunate." Upon hearing this, Jason, with tears welling up in his eyes, muttered, "You're really the best, sis."